This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on President's address to the nation on the eve of Republic Day 2022. The participants are Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent.
Honorable President of India, Shri Ram Nath Kovind addressed the nation today on the eve of Republic Day 2022. He talked about the journey of India's constitution and took us through the kaleidoscope of significant achievements, challenges, and accomplishments in the year gone by. To begin our discussion, sir, what do you feel is the chief takeaway from the President's address?
Today's address by the President has underscored the fact that India is an ancient civilization but a young republic. Because that is the thrust of his address which he concluded. I'm beginning from his conclusion because that was the running theme of his appeal for his call to the people of India. Because he made it a point to stress on the fact that nation building is a constant endeavor. And today we are in the 75 years since independence. And he put it, as in a family, so in a nation. So generation after generation has worked hard to make a better future for the next generation. And when we won the independence, there was the memory of the exploitation of the colonial rule, which had left us in utter poverty. But in the last 75 years, and more particularly in the recent years, the changes that have happened, the improvements that have taken place, that has given us a lot of hope. So the President feels new opportunities awaits the next generation. And our youth have taken advantage of these opportunities, and every day you are hearing new records being set, new benchmarks being held. So therefore, I think the President today spoke of this energy and confidence and the entrepreneurship that this country is witnessing. And the path ahead, as the President put it, is one of bright future for all of us and seeking the rightful place for India. I think that was the thrust of President's address this evening.
So the President said Gandhiji wanted us to look inside, introspect, and strive to become better human beings, and then also look outside, join hands with others, and contribute towards the making of a better India and a better world. Inspirational words for a country that has a very huge number of youth?
Definitely, because what he felt was, after all, this day was celebrated as Purna Swaraj Day from 1930 to 1947. And till 26 January was finally this constitution was adopted and brought into practice. Now, what the President was saying was, look, there are two ways of looking at our contribution to this country and contribution to our own growth. One is, as Gandhiji wanted, you look inside, introspect, and try to be a better human being. That is on one side. And then when you look outside, you join hands with others, see what you can do for the society, see what you can do for the country, so that India is a better place and the world is also a better place. I think these are very important lessons. And equally, he spoke about how the entire values of our constitution has been summed up in the preamble and in the form of fundamental rights and duties. You see, that's a very important aspect that the President touched upon. He says, when you look at, if you do your fundamental duties mentioned in the Constitution, that creates the proper environment for enjoying your fundamental rights. Because there has been a lot of emphasis on fundamental rights, without realizing that it requires we also follow the fundamental duties, because today the importance of fundamental duty has been much underscored because of the challenges that is facing the country. And he also noted it is because of this sense of fundamental duty in most of us that we have seen how the movements like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the COVID vaccination drive, which is the world's biggest immunization program, these have turned into mass movements. So he feels that people should continue to be in the spirit of recognizing the fundamental duties, striving to fulfill those duties so that we can be in a position to enjoy all our fundamental rights.
So Mr. Kovind talked about the pandemic challenge and how it is only in such difficult times that the resilience of a nation shines forth. How has the corona challenge brought the country and even the world together? How do you see India shine through in handling this major health emergency?
There were two aspects or the two frontiers of this challenge posed by the corona. One was, how do we tackle the sudden attack on our soil by this new virus? And second thing was, what is our duty towards the rest of the world? So first of all, we had to even make our own PPP, personal protection equipment, which we didn't have for our health workers, which all our entrepreneurs with active guidance of the government went about producing all those PPP kits. Second was, Very quickly, the government gave a go-ahead for developing our own vaccines, which is a remarkable thing. That is why the Prime Minister has often, mentioned in his addresses. I mean, can you imagine a situation if we didn't have those vaccines? Today, crores of people have been vaccinated. If we didn't have the vaccines, and if we had to look for help, how pitiable our situation would have been. The other aspect was, what is our role as a country in the frontier of fighting this health scourge? I think that was, despite our, the need to vaccinate our own people, India decided to send vaccines to countries that need it, which itself was a very big thing. That is why the President noted that despite our own requirements and our own challenges, even as our vaccination was moving at a pace, we also reached out to several other countries with vaccines and medical help. That's a very remarkable thing, which won appreciation from international organizations, as the President noted in his address today.
Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan launched in the previous year, as a result of which the economy successfully came out of the pandemic-induced recession, got a special mention. The government's reform drive was and is crucial for the country's economic growth.
Indeed, the President noted the fact that today our economy is looking up after the impact of the COVID. Then preceding that you had this global slowdown, which also impacted the economy. These things happening in succession. And when you look at today's situation, there is a sense of confidence. There is a feeling, look, we are slowly coming out of that stage where it was extremely difficult, where millions of people had to be fed, had to be given food because they didn't have jobs. Then special assistance had to be provided, particularly for small and medium-scale enterprises. And then a big Atmanirbhar assistance was announced, more than 20 lakh crore, and particularly for our agriculture sector. All these things which showed the fact that in the times of crisis, Government of India went for a Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. That itself has given us a kind of confidence today, and the fact that already the figures that you are seeing, that our economic is picking up and it has been quite impressive, particularly in the field of agriculture, in the field of manufacturing sector, and small farmers, particularly which the President said are now taking up natural farming, which is area which the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has also been emphasizing.
The importance of small and medium enterprises, success of the startup ecosystem, development of a massive and robust digital payment platform emerging in COVID times got a special mention in his address. You feel this is a perfect endorsement of turning crisis into an opportunity?
Exactly. That is what the President had in mind. Particularly, we have seen that how small and medium enterprises were given relief by a form of interest subvention and other assistance, which has helped them now slowly recover from the impact of COVID and the previous slowdown. That is why he noted, and particularly the President was impressed with the fact that today you have a robust digital payment platform and millions of digital transactions are taking place every month, which the President feels. But for this digitalization of our economy, we would have been through a lot of trouble if you were following the old system. With this COVID threat, you can imagine how difficult it would have been to conduct normal business. The very fact that digitalization or the digital payment platform started with when the demonetization came, and subsequently we have seen how this has brought a lot of growth into various sectors and a lot of job opportunities too.
Blending traditional values and modern skills in national education policy, India moving up in the Innovation Index, and India's great performance in Olympics were some other achievements highlighted by the President in his speech. How do you look at this all-round accomplishment that we managed in this difficult year?
Because it was during this pandemic only we saw the government going ahead with the launch of the new education policy, which has been welcomed by different sections. This education policy looks at the strength of our institutions and seeks to encourage learning, not by rote, but by inquisitiveness, promoting the desire of the students to acquire knowledge, because our system was earlier considered to be one which great emphasizes learning everything for the sake of learning and for the purpose of passing exam. But the new policy, which is now just in the beginning of the implementation stage, looks at the interest of the students, offering them diverse choices, as well as emphasizing the need for at least primary education to take place in their mother tongue. That a lot of emphasis has been given. And also to make it very modern. So at the same time, giving the opportunity to the students to also know about our civilization, about our country's heritage. These are aspects which are part of the features of our new education policy. As the President put it, it makes a perfect blend of traditional values and modern skills.
He emphasized the need to respect your roots, your native town and village, even after achieving success, and said this sentiment of Sashakt Bharat, Samvedansheel Bharat, will lead to people helping in the development of their villages and cities and hence the nation. He gave his own example, in fact, a very inclusive and participative approach to development.
President has never forgotten his humble beginnings in Kanpur Dehat or in the Kanpur Rural District. And you can see that whenever he has had opportunity, he has gone there. Even as a president, he has been there several times. And every visit to his village, to his humble origin, fills him with humility and also that confidence that more and more possibilities are opening up for our poorest sections, for our weaker sections, for our women, for our scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. See, that is a point that has always touched President Kovind. That is why he recalled whenever he goes to his village, that is Farooq in Kanpur Dehat, he feels moment he steps into the village, he feels like taking the sacred soil of his village and applying on his forehead. That's a very sentimental feeling he has expressed because he says, my village and my country will always remain in my heart. And people of India, people should always remember that no matter how much success they achieve, how much they are able to do in their individual careers and lives, they will always remember their roots, their village, their town and city, which is a very true thing. And the President wants each one of us to do our bit to serve our place of birth and our country in whatever ways we can. Because if successful people sincerely work for the development or wish to give back to their home district or home village or home state, so that itself will give a lot of scope for local development. That is the appeal from the President on the eve of Republic Day.
So giving the example of indigenous state-of-the-art aircraft carrier IAC Vikrant, which is to be inducted into the Navy, he lauded the country's moving towards self-reliance in the field of defense. He expressed his pleasure that this was a watershed year for women empowerment in the armed forces. And he thanked the soldiers, thanks to whom we all live a peaceful life. And as Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, you feel that these words, he was actually expressing the gratitude of the entire nation?
Indeed, Sonuji, I think whenever we observe Republic Day or celebrate our Independence Day, we are always filled with gratitude and great remembrance for those people who laid down their lives for this country and also who are standing vigil on those borders, on those cold, icy heights, on those difficult terrain, or out in the sea protecting our country, or those daring pilots who are guarding our skies. And this is an occasion where you feel, without them, they strive so that we sleep in peace. Therefore, the President particularly noted, the way we are moving forward as far as Atmanirbharta is concerned in the defense sector, because the government has given a big push for this indigenous state-of-the-art weapon systems. And in that context, particularly the success story which we are seeing in the shape of the new aircraft carrier Vikrant, which is being indigenously developed by our Cochin shipyard, which is a defense undertaking. I think it's a great matter of pride. And also the fact the last couple of years has been very important here when it comes to empowerment of women in the armed forces. Because, many of our sisters and daughters who joined the armed forces always felt that they were not treated on par with their men colleagues. And today they have been granted permanent commission. And not only that, they will now have an opportunity to enter the armed forces through these military academies as well as the National Defense Academy, which is a very significant thing. That is why the President feels that empowerment of women, which we are seeing in several sectors, has also happened in the defense sector, which is a matter of pride and a great relief for our women.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iyer, for this insightful discussion.
Thank you, Sonuj.
You were listening to a discussion on President's address to the nation on the eve of Republic Day 2022. The participants were Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.